Friday night, John. That means it is time for you to investigate stuff. I kind of like today's thumbnail. I always like the thumbnail image, but this one's kind of good. You've got Fauci up there sort of lounging. What are we going to be talking about today, John?
One of the folks that follows us sent me a link through the Twitter DM channel and said, want to make sure you saw this. And it was a conversation, an interview that Bobby Kennedy Jr. had with Dr. Malone, Robert Malone, and J.J. Couey. And we've had J.J. Couey on the show. I met J.J. Through Steve Kirsch, and watching this discussion that took place, I think it was in October, so it was shortly after we had JJ on the show, and watching the discussion between Bobby Kennedy Jr., JJ Couey, and Robert Malone was fascinating. And Robert Malone starts dropping these truth-isms that were kind of stunning. And I think the whole panel was somewhat stunned by what Bob Malone shared. And because it's through, Children's Health Defense and Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s website and all that, I don't know that it got a lot of views. And
What do
so
you mean?
when
I thought he gets a ton of views.
But it's still limited distribution, right? So I just got wind of it. And when I saw it and I heard what Dr. Malone was talking about, I said, this is pretty interesting. We have to visit this and break it down, because again, JJ's been on the show. JJ Couey has been on the show, and we've talked with him about P&I and all that kind of stuff. So
He seemed skeptical though when he was on the show, didn't he? He kind of didn't really.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm fine with skeptical. Right, skeptical's cool. So,
But I'm saying I haven't really seen this whole video with Malone and JJ Couey and Kirsch. I guess when we get to the sponsor exclusive segment in about 30 minutes on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We're going to be able to go into a lot of these videos on there. And, John, people say, paywall, this and that. But there's so many people who pursue us and try to destroy everything that we do that even things that seem normal when we do them on YouTube, there's somebody who's constantly trying to get the channel taken out. And just like Elon Musk has eliminated the blue check marks for, friends of people who work at Twitter, and now made it a process where you actually give them an authentic credit card and a phone number, and there's an increased level of verification that there is an actual person behind each account rather than a troll farm. This is a similar idea, what we're doing to keep people from messing with the broadcasts. People join us on the sponsor exclusive platforms.
Well, it's look, I mean, at the end of the day, you and I report information that a certain department within the State Department really would prefer that this stuff not get out. And so they fund activities to counter the things that we report. And these people have a budget and they're ruthless, and this is their job. This is what they do 24/7. They don't stop. And that's why we don't
Believe me,
stop.
I know.
Yeah, right. So, the net of this is these are professionals. They're paid to do it. They're paid to disrupt every aspect of what we're doing, whether it's the live chat, whether it's the content itself, whether it's the stuff we put on Twitter. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's everything and anything. It's like the New York Yankees go to play the Florida Marlins, and people are throwing dead fish on the field. It's like they're throwing like pieces of fish guts at the guys from New York, and at the same time, it's like if you even look at the umpire wrong, they will kick you out of the stadium.
Well,
because
it's more
in
like,
other words. Well,
they're going to the shortstop's house and
field.
putting the fish in the driveway so he slips on the way to the game.
What I mean is the playing field that you and I are on right now for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We get kicked off of this playing field rather regularly as if we're violating all kinds of nasty things. So we have to be very, very careful about the things we say here on this playing field. And people were throwing dead fish parts at us. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun to be here. When we go to our patron-only area, these are people who are spending, in my case, it's $5 a month or more to support the research. And do you know how much a Sunday Times is?
Yeah. No, it's more than $5. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're not trying to put anybody out, but when, just for the same reasons on Twitter, when somebody can create 100 fake accounts to troll whatever, these simple mechanisms help keep them out of there. But people who watch the show, they get it. And just to continue your analogy of the baseball game, John, it's not only that they're throwing fish on the field while we're playing. We're forced to play with bats that weigh twice as much or 3 times as much. I mean, look at this. Your channel has grown to 45,100 subscribers, and we've got 64 live viewers on this video right now. There's something happening with the John E. Hoover YouTube channel and the various Crowdsource the Truth YouTube channels that seems to differ from the way most other YouTube channels work, because this is kind of a low number of simultaneous viewers for a popular channel that's been around for 5 or 6 years with 45,000 subscribers. It's just a little strange, I think.
I think you're right. And I think that what Elon has done is he's opened up a whole world of secrets around this notion of visibility filtering. And so whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or what have you, it seems that certain accounts could be denoted either by employees of the company or now, as we're learning, assuming everything we've learned from Elon that we've learned about Twitter isn't unique to Twitter. So make that assumption. So if we can make that leap of faith and assume that the same folks, the same entities have applied that pressure to Facebook. Let's just use that as an example.
Oh, we know they have. Zuckerberg said they have and all that.
Right. So if that's the case, this is a real slippery slope. And we're going to take a closer look at what the impact of that is in a little video clip that we've got queued up for our YouTube audience in just a couple minutes here. But I do have some interesting stuff queued up in the deck that we can share with the YouTube audience before we go to the patron-only part of the show. So, why don't we go take a look at a couple of these slides.
Absolutely. You're growing still on Twitter, 12.4 you're up to already. People can follow.
Like that, picked up a couple hundred,
Doing well.
So, and for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter or aren't on Twitter, I'm going to show you a couple things that happened this week that are pretty interesting, where I engaged with a woman named Marion Koopmans. We've talked about Marion before, and she's with the World Health Organization. So I'm going to show you that. But the slide you have here, this is the Defender. This is Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s, Children's Health Defense website. And this was sort of the story. And the title of the story is Disappearing Flu Data. RFK Jr. brings together 5 experts to discuss changes in how health officials calculate all-cause mortality. And it's J.J. Couey's thesis that they put forward, and everybody else then gets to comment on the thesis. And it's
Did he have this thesis? Excuse me. Did he have this thesis before he spoke to you?
I don't know. Well, he was on our show, right? So, but that was with our patrons. We only spent 20 minutes here. And then we spent over an hour with our patrons and inside the mind of J.J. Couey, right? And
when was that, though?
September of last year.
Oh, so this was sort of right after. So here it is. It's still available for people on the John E. Hoover channel, and I've got it on Odyssey and elsewhere. But so this was, September 23rd. He's over here. And then you've got him hanging out with Robert Kennedy. 3 weeks later, month later.
5 weeks. 5 weeks later. 5 weeks later.
Yeah.
October 30. October.
Interesting. All right. So what does he say?
All right. So 4 or 5 weeks later. So that's what we're going to listen to. So with our patrons, we're going to hear Bobby Kennedy's take first. So Bobby does the intro. Then JJ is going to lay it out and we're going to listen to that. And you and I are going to break it down because, man, when you start listening to these guys talk, it's like one sentence packs in so much stuff.
You got to stop and look it up.
And in many cases, I agree with half of the sentence and not the other half of the sentence. And that's really important here. So we're really breaking this down tonight. And what Bob Malone says in response to JJ Couey is stunning. And that's where everybody's going to, this is the mind-blowing moment. So that's with our patrons tonight. We're breaking this down. It's 30 minutes of video that you and I are chopping up. So this is going to take us probably an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do people watching right now know that Bob Malone is represented by the same attorney who represented Robert David Steele, still represents Robert David Steele in his case against me?
And Devin Nunes and
Timothy Holmseth.
Keep going.
And
Devin Nunes.
Devin Nunes. Who else does he represent? I don't know. I'm forgetting.
It's an interesting list, and they all seem to, I don't know, have spent time in Virginia. Let's just kind of put it at that.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of weird.
Very weird.
Kind of weird. All right, so on Twitter, if you guys do follow me on Twitter, and sometimes it's just interesting because, man, I am just engaging with some of the biggest names in the world, like Marion Koopmans. I mean, she's at the WHO. She's the head of, you'll see all this as we go through the presentation. But the hashtag that I use on Twitter is I am the Maps Daddy. And the image that you're seeing here is another implementation of the mapping technology. These are all the BSL-4 and BSL-3 laboratories in Europe. So while everybody's freaking out about Wuhan, right? Wuhan, what do I say? What's my favorite?
Wuhan Schmuhan. Hashtag
Wuhan Schmuhan. Right. So that's my bumper sticker is Wuhan Schmuhan. That won't fit on a license plate, right? They won't give you that. But it'll fit on a bumper sticker. Wuhan Schmuhan. What are you worried about Wuhan for? Look at this map. Look at all those dots. That's Fauci money everywhere there. He's spreading it out. He's got this over here. He's got puppies over here. He's got monkeys over there. He's got humanized mice over in this one. And everybody's getting a little bit of the action because, who knows who's going to figure it out? We don't know who's going to figure it out. So we give everybody $10 million. Again, this is a comedy show. So I don't know exactly how much money he gives, and he probably doesn't give everybody money, right? Somebody's not on his good list, right? But
Scott Jensen.
Man, there's a lot of labs out there. So fun with maps. It's always fun, to look at a map and say, where could the next pandemic come from? Anywhere. Yeah. Isn't that great? Isn't that exciting? That's what I call equity. Equity is when the next pandemic can come from anywhere. Isn't that great? Isn't that exciting? All right, so this is something called, what do they call this? Social Blade? And Social Blade is a website
what the hell happened here?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So Social Blade.
How do you have
is
negative
a website.
views? That's an error.
Is that an error or is that a lawsuit? I don't know. You tell me.
How can you have negative 500K video views? People erase their eyes? I mean, how do you unview?
Well,
it's
kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like an election. It's like all of a sudden you're counting votes and then all of a sudden.
This is a serious question, John. How does this piece of data even get injected here? Where is that coming from? How is that generated?
I don't know. Well, the question isn't what is the impact of that? Why would it happen? Who would authorize that to happen? Did it happen by accident? So let's explain to people what this is. So first of all, what it's saying is that at a particular point in time, and it's not just one day. So in other words, from a given point in time through the point in time where it connects back up at that same level, I was underwater and losing views.
It's not subscribers, it's views. How can you lose views? Once something has been viewed, that's it. It's viewed. You record it as viewed. You can't unview
There's
it.
one method. There is one method. And that's the Ferris Bueller. You put it in reverse.
Yeah, run it in reverse.
Backwards.
Watch it in reverse.
If you watch the video backwards.
That's it.
it
That's it.
should unwind the view count by one. So the question is, we had 500,000 people watched my stuff in reverse. That's a
That's
lot of
amazing
people
that
to
you
watch my
found
stuff in
this.
reverse. Isn't that nice?
It
Now the
is.
question is, what is this evidence of? Is this evidence of foul play? Because I have other evidence of foul play behind the scenes at YouTube on my channel. This isn't the only body of evidence. There's other things that people have sent to me that said, what is this? Did you post this? I was like, no. Well, how is this on your channel with your name?
How did that happen? Somebody hack it?
Yeah.
But even if somebody hacked it, how do they get negative views in there? Like what this says to me is somebody is rigging the system at YouTube, and this social blade thing has a way of sucking the data out, and when it sees this anomaly, this is how it gets recorded. This is somebody deleting information from whatever is, or adding negative information to throw off how the algorithm interacts with your content.
And so when you see something like this, and you say, wait a second, that's not 5,000 views. That's 500,000 views on one day. In other words, I just clicked on that bottom one. But every one of those days leading up to that, it was negative 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. That's a lot of views that they sucked out of this thing.
How? I'm having a tough time wrapping my brain around exactly what it is that we're even looking at there.
Right, which is why it makes me wonder, if you showed this to a grand jury, would they allow you to get a subpoena to find out what happened here? What is this?
Well,
Why would you
Wait a
do
minute,
this to
you're
somebody's
mixing some
intellectual
stuff
property?
here, because a grand jury is only going to get involved if you've determined that there's some kind of criminal thing and you get somebody like Alvin Bragg to do that. What you probably are thinking about is this is evidence that you would use in a lawsuit against them, not for things that they're protected under CDA 230 for, but for FTC violations, fair competition violations. Jason Fike was on the show yesterday. He's having problems with that because they're finding ways of just getting 230 to defend these companies from anything.
I don't know. They didn't even send a fruit basket or nothing. Not even like, hey, gee whiz, sorry you lost 500,000 views to the negative. It's like, huh? Nothing. Just weird. So why don't we hop ahead to the next slide? I hate to beat up the host of the party too much. Just weird.
It is.
It's like when you pick up your coat at the end of the dinner party from the coat room, and the dog's poop is in a poop bag in the pocket of your coat, and it's like, how did that get there? Who put the dog's poop in a poop bag in the pocket of my coat?
Did that happen?
Who did that? You? How did that happen? No, but I'm saying it's like, how did I lose 500,000 views? It's like I don't want to make fun of our hosts here because we're on their platform, but
no, we're not making fun of them. But you've raised an incredibly important. See, this is your work is amazing, John, because you hone right in on the evidence. Like we have been thinking for a long time. Almost every video I put out, YouTube is telling us that average engagement, the number of comments per view, is 0.5%. So for every 1,000 people who watch a video, 5 people out of that 1,000 on average will comment. But our videos typically are between 3 and 10 times average engagement. So we'll have a video with 1,000 views and 25, 30, 40, 60 comments. And I've thought to myself that, look, they don't want to reconfigure all of YouTube. You've got millions of videos on there that are being affected by this algorithm. It makes much more sense that you'd put weights on the channel that's competing with the other stuff that's normal, so that it's harder for this individual channel, like maybe counting 5 views as one, or injecting some number of negative views with some special thing that's who knows what.
Beats me, but it sure doesn't look organic. So
no.
But yeah, we'll see what that is. Maybe it was just an honest mistake.
Doubtful.
We'll see. All right, so I had an opportunity to meet with Peter Canonis, and Peter does a podcast that seems to be pretty popular, and he's got 20-something thousand followers, 22,000 followers on Twitter, and he saw some of my stuff on Twitter, sent me a thing, and said, "Hey, would you come on my podcast?" And I said, I took a look, and I said, "Oh, this guy's had some pretty interesting people there." He does this full-time podcaster. And we had a real good conversation. We talked about the pandemic, and that'll be coming out real soon. So keep an eye out for those of you who are fans of Pete's show. Keep an eye out. There'll be an episode coming up with
Marcus is joining us in the comments on Facebook, and he says, yeah, 500,000 honest mistakes.
Yeah, I'm
probably,
I'm not a
just slips through the
conspiracy
cracks.
theorist. You guys know that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I also was able to connect with Dr. Ahmad Malik, and really great guy, interesting guy. He's an orthopedic surgeon in the UK, and he's got 70,000 followers on Twitter. And again, a lot of this is who follows these people, right? So if other very notable people are following them and what they say, this is how social media works, right? So it's that connective stuff there. So he's followed by a lot of very interesting people, and he connected with me, and we ended up having a private conversation about the pandemic and the observations that I've made, and he just had like a million questions. And it looks like he and I will be doing a podcast in the next couple of weeks.
Dude, that's amazing. You're becoming like consultant to the doctors.
Well, they're kind of stunned because, again, the data that I'm showing is WHO and CDC data. And I don't make stuff up. Again, I don't even know what the hell I'm showing people.
Well,
Everybody's asking me, why? And I'm like, what the hell do I know?
That's
I'm not
the thing.
epidemiologist.
You are sort of, without even setting about to do this, you're conducting something of a study in expertology, because one of the things that you're going to start to notice just on your own from talking to all these people is the way in which they absorb your information and how they missed it and everything. And I think you're going to start to develop an understanding for collectively how trained physicians approach problems and how they think. And knowing you might even identify some sort of a flaw in the way they're approaching this that causes them to do this.
I think I've already identified the flaw, and the flaw is the way that we do testing for respiratory viruses. We're testing for the most innocuous viruses. In other words, if you go to your physician and you're not well, right? You've got 103 fever now for 3 days, you're burning up at night, you're sweating your sheets. You go to see the doc and you're like, Doc, man, this isn't like anything I've ever felt before. And so they do a test, and the test comes back and says, no, you're fine, man. You're fine. You're negative. The issue here is we're testing for innocuous strains. If you've got, let's say, PDM09, which is the influenza strain from the 2009 pandemic, that only killed 12,000 Americans. That was like the least deadly strain we've had. So testing for that just tells me you're going to be fine. Just get some rest, drink a lot of fluids, don't go kissing anybody for the next week, and socially distance yourself, and you'll get over it. The problem is we're not testing for the deadly strains. We're not testing for the strains that we know are ruthless. Which means, so for example, I was having an argument on Twitter with a doctor who was saying, well, we know that H7N9 isn't in the UK.
How does he know that?
How do you know if you're not testing for it?
Right.
He says, we don't need to test for it because it's not circulating.
Oh.
How the hell do you know it's not circulating if it's not in the test, Sherlock?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this is how I end up getting blocked by so many people, is because I use sort of the Socratic method of science, which is
the sarcastic method. What is it? Wait, I found a picture of you, John. Look at this.
Thanks.
Here you are. Oh,
well, that's So that's pretty much me. Yeah, it's pretty much how I feel. Again, in so many ways, right? Think about the stories and how I began talking about Beijing and Shanghai, and the response was China's lying.
Exactly.
Right. So
hey, listen, I got to stop you though, because we're out of time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're out of time.
Right.
We're going to be finishing the conversation in the sponsor exclusive segment of the show. You can be able to join us there on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Big thank you to everybody who sponsors the show. It's super important. Help us overcome the trolls. Come, share this information and watch us share this information where we're not going to get thrown off the internet for doing it. And listen, it's only $5 a month. Sponsor John, sponsor Crowd